Welcome to the Leaves of Change podcast, sponsored by Tree of Hope, a peer-run organization dedicated to serve the recovery community. Our hosts are Melissa Caffarelli, Madison Rubenthal, and Anta Say. They regularly bring you inspirational stories of hope and recovery.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Madison Rubenthal, and I'm here with
Anta Say.
And we are doing another episode of The Leaves of Change, a podcast series in association with Tree of Hope. The Tree of Hope is an organization dedicated to providing support and services to those in recovery. Today, we'll be talking to Ali Robinson.
Hey, Ali.
And I guess we'll start. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. Where are you from? What do you do?
So I am a native Washingtonian. I grew up in the area, pretty much in the DMV. We started off in Washington, D.C. When I hit middle school, my parents moved us from Washington, D.C. out to Maryland, where I currently have lived for the last, quite a few years of my life. I have lived 12 years in Los Angeles, California. I've lived up and down the East Coast. I went to school at Elizabeth City State University down in North Carolina. And I am a person in long-term recovery.
Awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Like, what brought you to recovery? Tell us about that.
So, this most recent time, I found recovery because my life had truly become manageable. This last relapse, I had amassed 5 years clean. I actually worked it through attending meetings through Narcotics Anonymous, but it was strange to me. I thought that Narcotics Anonymous was a cult, and I made a mistake, and that mistake was I had stopped using all drugs and didn't consider alcohol a drug. Mm-hmm. And so I started back with drinking. It was just here and there, nothing major. And, because I am an addict, over a period of time, opening a bottle of Budweiser or beer, it wasn't enough. And ultimately, I would find my way back to opening a bag. And at the end of each bottle, would find myself opening a bag, and then the unmanageability, and the story just continues, Understanding that my tape always ended with, me having issues on my job, me having issues with the relationships in my life, and, breaking out in things like handcuffs, having problems and run-ins and stints with the law. So clearly I wanted and needed to do something different, but honestly, I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do. And I had never really received a true message of recovery and how to go about it. So I knew I needed help, but I was using it against my will and didn't know what to do.
How did you get help?
What did you turn to?
So for me, my story says that Montgomery County Police had decided that I needed to go to jail. Mm-hmm. So I had, called myself supplementing my income. And behind that, I ultimately was incarcerated and faced with the decision of you can go into rehab and get yourself some help, or you can go into incarceration, and we know where that would land. Mm-hmm. So, my choice was to go in and get help. So when I did, I went into a treatment center, a local treatment center. And through that, H&I, which is Hospitals and Institutions for Narcotics Anonymous, came in, and I heard my story. And then they continued to come in, and I heard my story again. And then while in rehab, one of the persons that were in rehab with me, after H&I had come in, she said, "Hey, I wanted to share." And this is what she said. She said, "I know where I went wrong." She said, "I stopped calling my sponsor. I stopped going to meetings." She said, "I stopped calling my network. I stopped doing the 12 steps. I stopped working the program, and I was isolating, and I felt all by myself, and I was comfortably there." Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds like my story. Only thing is, I had never gotten a sponsor. I had never created a network. I had never worked a single step. I had never had a service position. I had never done any of these things that she said she had done, but stopped doing. And hence she was in due to a relapse. So a light bulb went off, and I committed at that time to accomplish at least setting a foundation of giving recovery a chance and following those basic little, I would say, guidelines to begin a future recovery. And so I did so. And when I left the rehab facility, they said things like, go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And I recall distinctly, doing 114 meetings in those 90 days. And I got a sponsor, and I had a service position, and I had begun to work the steps. And then a mentor, a very good friend of mine, who is also in the recovery atmosphere, had introduced me to Recovery Coach Academy. So I took Recovery Coach Academy, and he said, you should continue on and come volunteer with us and other peers. And so I started staying connected to recovery. And lo and behold, I completed all the necessary coursework to become a certified peer recovery specialist. And I, through volunteering, actually came upon a job with family services as a peer recovery specialist working with youth, which is something that I adore and wanted to do in the first place. And then I just stayed connected. And over the course of the last 4.5 years, pretty much, I have successfully not put a single inhibitor in my body. And I understand how my story works. And as long as I continue to stay connected, continue to go to meetings, continue to educate myself about my recovery, I feel like I got half a chance.
That's awesome. I guess, tell me a little bit more about your job. Like, what you said it's something that you always wanted to do. What about it do you find so, I guess, fulfilling?
So that actually came up in group today. So it is nothing like seeing a child come in who is generally broken, faced with, the parents or whatever force of nature drove them to come to our school and or the after-school program, because I work with the morning program, which is the recovery academic program, which is credit recovery, and of course the high school through the partnership with Montgomery County Public Schools and the landing. So through the RAP program, I provide assistance and run a morning group. Through the evening program, I'm a recovery specialist, so I work with the kids, run groups, and provide encouragement and support. What I love the most about the job is just watching the kids hit walls, having an opportunity to be present and, help them through the tough time of addiction. I've come to understand that addiction is about the we. I can't do it by myself, and neither can these kids. So, through the program and lending the encouragement and the support and whatever specific area in need may be for each individual child, like I think as a staff, we do such an excellent job, but pinpointing how to help a kid through recovery is just a question that I think all the psychologists and, the scientists and the powers that be, I think the question stands on the table still. Like, what is recovery and how can we, help? I think they've come up with some avenues in how to ultimately accomplish that. But, if I go out and get hit by a car today, right, and I go to the hospital, they're going to probably hit me with, diamorphine or some type of opiate, right? Now, a lady walking across the street may get hit in the same capacity. The thing is, because I'm an addict, after I get healthy and I'm walking fine and all of a sudden, life should be moving in the right direction, because I'm an addict, my body is going to crave, want, desire to do more and want more. Yeah. That other person, for whatever reason, and I don't know, their path may be totally different. They will be done. They will be fine. They're happy that they're walking, but that's not enough for me. Mm-hmm. So with the kids, my challenge is always to find out how can I be of service? Like, how can I help them over whatever hurdle they may have? And again, I think because each child is looked at independently, and how can we help them move toward a good space in their life, the challenge stands within myself to just find out what I can do to help them thrive. How can I help you stay focused and on track? And then whatever the need may be, or whatever wall they may hit, because we have such an awesome team, where I may fail to connect with a child, I know we have a capable staff that will connect with a child. And then because we have this great level of communication with our staff, we always, I don't know that we failed. I think we've had maybe one or two that, ultimately decided that this was not the place for them. We have some that show up and then, they fall off, but they come back. But I think as a whole, because we do have this awesome staff, and I love my job because I love working with children. I stay encouraged. I keep my energy level up, and I challenge the staff to do the same. You know that about me. And with that, we find like this happy medium where this is. It's a fun place. It's a loving place, and it's a family. And I think that's the aspect of, hearing the child say things got better at home. Hearing the child say, I was at a party this weekend and I thought about you. And, I was faced with the, challenge of, do I get high or do I go off and smoke? And you know what? I said no. And then that's the reward. That's the reward right there. Like, how can we bottle that up? You know what I'm saying? And give it to the next child. So I don't think that that's something that we're able to do, but what we are able to do is just our part. So I try to do mine.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. What advice would you give like the child or the newcomer in the room who thinks that maybe like this won't be for them, or they can't, recovery is not for them, or they're scared, or they're, what advice would you give to them?
What advice? So I think that there are multiple pathways to recovery. This is not the only landing, although this is the best landing, certainly for your child to land at and ultimately find success. But I guess the piece of advice would understand that I can't, we can. We have to find a way to be a part of. You need to understand the importance of not looking out at what you're not doing, what can't be done, but look inside and just ask yourself, what can be done. Mm-hmm. You have to have some willingness. And I think that there's a spiritual component to recovery. I think a lot of time our moral compasses tend to get off or get blurred. So I think it does require not necessarily a higher power as much as it does take for a child to know that they do need help. And that, I think, is the hardest part. Like, I think the children think that they're invincible a lot of times and that they have time. But, my story tells me that you do have time. But my story tells me that drugs kill. My story tells me that since October 2014, when I got clean, that I've lost 56 people to drugs and addiction. And my story tells me that in order for the breakthrough to happen, a child needs to open their mind to something other than their normal routine. They have to find a way to change and want change and embrace the fact that, hey, you know what? Like, I don't get high. Like, I champion staying clean and going the other direction and doing the right thing and the next right thing after that. And I find that when I don't incorporate drugs, guess what? I'm a success. But I realize now, looking back, that whenever I incorporate drugs, I fail. So the writing is on the wall. We just choose not to read it. We help the children read it.
That's great. That's really good.
Perfect.
I know, right?
That's perfect.
Yeah, great. Thank you for your message. Is there anything else that we need to?
I think you hit
No, I know. That was perfect. Thank you.
Be of service, right? Like that's the whole key. Like that's how I stay, clean, focused in the recovery. Honestly,
Absolutely.
like I make
Absolutely.
myself a service to,
Thank you.
the kids, and my hope is that together as a collective we'll find success.
Yeah, this message will definitely help some Black